right-wing alliance is set to take a huge majority of seats in the National Assembly. Independent Radio News.
Nightline with Mike Allen on LBC News Talk 97.3 FM. Give Mike a call on 071 973 9733.
Of course, one of the questions is, we must answer today, what happened to Sunday lunch? Seems to go out of fashion. People just don't seem to have it. They don't seem to take the trouble. And if they do, it's maybe pasta, it's maybe something which is pretty easy to get together. Not that the Sunday roast is going to cause you too much brain damage, but it's getting it all to finish at the right time. That is, of course, the trick. However, as far as you're concerned, what has happened to Sunday lunch? Do you still have it? Just get people round, do you? I'd like to hear about it. And if you don't, perhaps tell me why not. And also talking about houses. If you've got a home, it doesn't matter whether you own it or not. But what about the people that move away? Those wonderful neighbours you had for all that time, and then, gone. And somebody new comes, and what do? They paint the house the most disgusting colour. I mean, it's absolutely dreadful, totally out of character. Or they start sticking stuff all over it. You have to ask yourself, were they put there deliberately to annoy you? So when it comes to people who just can't help but bring tack with them when they move, what's your experience? Trouble, was it? 973 9733. We've been hearing in recent times the terrible troubles of the IRA bombing. And apparently the IRA is to abandon bomb attacks against the British public and will concentrate instead on political and military targets. Right, okay, yeah. So, my question to you, these are still people's husbands, these are still people's wives and children. The fact that they're military targets, because they detect the swell of public opinion is well against them, even in their home country, doesn't diminish the crime. Perhaps we should talk about it. Interestingly enough, and I don't know if you've spoken at all with anyone about this week, but the director for the British Agencies for Adoption and Fostering claimed that smokers will no longer be allowed to adopt or foster children under the age of 2, was held up by some to be wholly unreasonable. In other words, if there is someone who's prepared to adopt a child, the fact that they smoke or not should have nothing to do with it. The fact that they're prepared to adopt a child is perhaps more important. How would you regard that? Do you think the decision not to allow people who smoke the chance to adopt a child under the age of 2, do you believe that to be wholly acceptable? 973 9733. An exclusive private hospital, it's reported today, has prompted an ethical row by encouraging young women to donate their eggs to older women in return for free infertility treatment. This payment-in-kind scheme has provoked an outcry from infertility doctors who see it as a way of sidestepping the government ban on the sale of human eggs. Now, whether you're getting something in kind for it or money, payment, one would argue, is being made. What are your thoughts on it? 973 9733. It's been claimed that there is an increase in lorry exhaust fumes. If you're a regular motorway driver, you've probably sat next to more than your fair share of trucks that run on diesel. Maybe it's because the cost of maintaining up-to-date servicing is getting increasingly higher. So let's not service it as frequently. Let's just do it when we have to go out for a plate once a year. I don't know. Do you believe there are problems? There is an increase in it? 973 9733. And women in sport. Nothing wrong with that, but women boxing. Apparently, there is a growing number of women who would like women's boxing to be taken very, very seriously. You know, there's this whole thing about getting out there and doing it. A lot of people laughed at it. Nope, they want to do it. So the British Medical Association and those involved, Boxing Border Control and things like the BMA, agree that boxing for women is bad. But despite that, they still want to go ahead and do it. My question to you, is this wholly bad? Should women have the say as to how they abuse their bodies, or not, as the case may be? Or should it just be ruled out? as an unacceptable option. In which case, of course, you want us to ask the question, by what right? 973 9733. We were talking about Ireland, we were talking about the IRA. My question to you, if you're Irish or you know someone who is, because of the recent publicity the IRA has received against this killings of children and bomb attacks, do you feel that you're being discriminated against because you're Irish? 973 9733. I find it very hard to understand how some of these figures are arrived at in terms of profit, but it's claimed supermarkets are accused of making sky-high profits at the expense of customers and farmers. A dossier was sent to the Director General of Fair Trading, Sir Brian Carlsberg, who's Labour's Consumer Affairs spokesman. Nigel Griffiths said the supermarket profits have rocketed, this is Nigel here, in the past 10 years by more than 6 times the increase in the inflation rate, which is a lot. Farm incomes have dropped by 35%, whilst the retail prices have risen by 52%. That's between 82 and 92. So I think we're all agreed there that that spans a period of plenty and a period of not a lot. Sainsbury's pre-tax profits rose from 183 million to 732 million. Argyle, which owns Safeway, from 78 million to 382, and Tesco's from 115 to 603 million. It's claimed in France supermarket profit levels are 5 times lower than Britain's. Nigel Griffiths, the Labour Consumer Affairs spokesman, said, "The public is sick of supermarket bosses dismissing all criticisms." So, my question to you, do you believe they're unfairly charging? And are these profit levels on the way up because they're providing a wider range of things that we might want to buy from them now? Or do you seriously believe they've just got too big a markup? 973 9733. Now, people who go sleepwalking, now that's tough, isn't it, to go sleepwalking? I think so, because you don't always know it's happening. Well, people that are doing it at the moment, go to a particular hotel, the Manchester Holiday Inn, are given walkie-talkies and spare keys on wristbands to save their blushes. I wanted to ask you, have you ever been sleepwalking whilst you've been staying away on holiday? You know, somebody's home, at a hotel, something like that. Didn't realise you'd done it, and the next morning people said, "Oh, we should have seen you last night." What happened with you and sleepwalking? 973 9733. The coffee's here, and the phone lights are flashing, so we'll have a few calls right after this. You're listening to LBC Radio. I'm Mike Allen. It's Sunday night, and the Jolly Boys are in town.